where we allow that to flow, it does naturally. It just takes care of itself. It's just biology. When we create environments where we restrict that, it actually does the opposite. It releases a chemical called cortisol, which is the feeling of stress and anxiety. Cortisol actually inhibits oxytocin, which means if we work in a poorly led organization, not only do we have high stress, but it actually inhibits empathy. In other words, I'm less likely to even want to care about somebody because of the poor leadership and the poor environment that's been provided for me to work in, right? And the more cortisol we have in our bodies, stress goes up, anxiety goes up, it affects our immune systems. Happy people live longer. Happy people have lower rates of cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, which means when you're in a position of leadership, you're actually medically responsible for the lives of these people. Get the environment right, they will live longer, they will suffer lower cases of disease, and they will probably have happier families because of it. Whereas if you're a bad leader, over the course of time, you're actually killing the people working with you. Our jobs are actually killing us. So leadership is this awesome responsibility. It's not about the company. That's not what leadership is. You can't lead a company. You cannot. It's a human enterprise. You can run a company, you can manage a project, but you can only lead people. And for anybody in a leadership position who says, I am a leader, you are a leader of people. That's how it works. And the problem is we have to go through this transition. Some people make it quickly, some people make it slowly, and some people will never make it. When we're junior, the only thing we have to do is be good at our jobs. That's it. The company trains us how to do our job. Some of us get advanced degrees on how to do our job, accounting, engineering, whatever. And if you're really good at doing your job, eventually they'll promote you. And eventually you'll get promoted into a position where you're now responsible for the people who do the job you used to do. But nobody teaches us how to do that. And so they put us in a position of leadership and demand results, which is like putting us in front of the machine and demanding results, although they never showed us how to use the machine. And so we fumble our way through and we break things and we don't want anybody to know that we have no clue what we're doing. And of course we manage people because I do know how to do your job better than you. That's what got me promoted. We have to go through this transition where when you're now in a leadership position, you are now no longer responsible for the results. You're now responsible for the people who are responsible for the results. I love talking to CEOs, and I say, what's your priority? They say, my customer. You haven't talked to a customer in 10 years. There's not a CEO on the planet, anywhere, who's responsible for the customer. You're responsible for the people who are responsible for the customer. As a solopreneur, you're chief cook and bottle washer. It's a hard job. And when you have a very small enterprise, you have to balance this thing because you have a responsibility as a worker, but you also have a responsibility as a leader. And they have to be separate. So when you do work, you're a worker, you do the best job you can do if you're out there consulting or pitching or whatever you're doing. But when you're the leader, you're taking care of your people so they can be at their natural best, so that they can thrive. And you know that their work is not your responsibility. They are your responsibility. Their work is their responsibility. And so it's a really hard sort of yin and yang when you're small. But as you gain size and as you start hiring a few more people, the problem is we can't extricate ourselves. We struggle. Like I said, that transition is really hard. It takes practice. It's hard work. It requires studying. Just like you study how to learn the machine, you have to study how to learn to be a leader. All the great leaders I know are students of leadership. None of them consider themselves experts. We're all students of the subject. And when we get together, we talk about it because we're genuinely interested in it. You know, golfers talk about golf. Yeah. Leaders talk about leadership if they're good because they're constantly in learning mode. So, yeah, it's a human enterprise and it has to be treated that way.